Hi, and welcome to Pathfinder Mastermind. My name is Wendy Rosenthal, and I am joined by fellow Pathfinder Rachel Madar. How are you, Rachel?
I'm great. How are you? So nice to be back.
So nice to be back. I totally agree with you. We come to you live every now and then because we are working to bring and bridge spirituality with business. Rachel and I are spiritual business coaches, and Pathfinder Mastermind is that forum where we talk about the things that we're learning through our work with our clients, through the spiritual work that we have done for a large part of our lives. But we can't do it without you. This is why we call it Pathfinder Mastermind, because we really do want to hear your feedback, your
Yes.
questions, and your experiences as we go along this path with you. Today, we wanted to talk about something that has come up quite a bit, as we usually do. We kind of talk about what's being reflected amongst our clients recently, and this one comes up quite a bit for both of us. And that is the idea of, these have been really challenging times, and many things in business have
It's true.
not gone so well. Some things have gone
Yeah.
amazingly well, but still, there's a lot of challenges happening. And one of the things our clients are struggling with right now is it just feels like it's one challenge after another. There isn't a lot of positive, or they're struggling to pull out of, the negative things that are happening, or maybe some of the challenging things that are happening, the good. And it brought Rachel and I to
Yeah.
share with our clients, but also we wanted to share with you that, one of the most foundational types of spiritual thinking is the ability to see the good in everything, to
Mm.
know that the universe is really here for you. And so that even when the most challenging things are happening, they're happening for you, not to you. And I know that sounds like a lot of, I don't know, airy fairy speak. And for those of you who have watched us, or who know us, or who have worked with us, Rachel and I are very practical. Like, we don't like to live in the airy fairy, but we do appreciate and know how much the spiritual thinking can positively impact your business. So when we're talking about the fact that the universe is here for you, and that everything is good, and that that everything is happening for you, not to you, it's actually a really practical tool, wouldn't you say, Rachel?
Yeah. I so love this concept of like looking at everything like really in a positive way. And I know it sounds like it probably will sound to some of you listening like, oh man, come on, it's good in theory, but how we can do it practically. So I think that in this session, we will try to give you the spiritual aspect of it and the practical tool, how you manifest it in your life.
Exactly. So we want you to stay tuned and stick with us until the end, where we'll give you those tips. But let's first talk about the fact, I mean, it sounds like, again, so almost kind of ridiculous, because you can name 1,001 or 1,000,001 things that, are not good for us,
Right.
and say there's no way that you can find the good in that. But the truth of the matter is that spiritually speaking, the universe, the force of creation, the creator, God, whatever you want to call it, if you are connected with the idea that that even exists, then the reality of it is that the multiple spiritual teachings talk about the fact that it's only a force of good, right? There's nothing bad that is coming from this source, right? So,
Yes.
Rachel, maybe you can explain a little bit more about that, and how that kind of helps us see that things that are happening for us and not to us kind of is foundational to the thinking.
First of all, I'm like, for me, I'm like, I feel like I'm like happy from inside. Like I have a like internal happiness about this conversation again, because I just finished the conversation with a group of people about this, and there is a whole spiritual understanding, energy that you know when we are having an idea to create a certain business, and we're working on it, and we're waiting for an answer, waiting for an answer for someone to tell us that, yeah, I'm going to invest, yeah, this project will be amazing, yeah, you're going to get a raise, uh, we are, we are so much putting so much effort and so many plans, and already in our mind we already see the end result. We are so, and we spoke about it in the past,
Mm-hmm.
are we attached to that result?
Right.
And yet there is a moment in that process, and it's a spiritual technology that exists from the universe, and this is why I wanted to share it. There is in a spiritual process that taking place of delay, and it's purposely taking place in that process. It's like delay, and then what happened when we're in that a period of time of expectation, when we're waiting for answers. What is taking place within ourselves? Obviously, in that moment, we don't see the good things that will take place. We don't see the good things because automatically we start to worry. We worry of what will happen. What if he will not do? What if she will not do? What will happen tomorrow? What will happen with my future? What will happen if I don't have the money to pay the mortgage? What will happen? This time of this delay time in the process intentionally taking place to help us and allow us to release any form of attachment and dependency that we have, not just in the end result, in anything else. We constantly mentioning the word consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's a consciousness of dependency, that the reason that it's taking place in that process is to release us from that consciousness of being attached to anything that is external from us,
Well,
to release that worry, to work through that process to cleanse it from ourselves. So when we come to the point of understanding how it's amazing to be free of this.
yeah, it's so true, but it's also, I'm, as you're talking, I'm thinking yes, but, and not but, yes, and. Okay, so yeah, maybe it's a delay, or you're not getting the money you want, or, but it's also in the times when your star employee, uh, decides to quit, and that leaves you with a big hole in your organization, or
When
it's
everything that's unexpected is taking place,
exactly.
it's part of a spiritual process for each one of us that has to come to a way that we are shifting. Help us to really shift the way we look at things, and to see that eventually everything is for the best. There's a reason why that person left. There's a
Exactly.
reason. We don't see
Exactly.
it in that moment, right?
Exactly. And so, you might have heard this in maybe non-spiritual arenas,
Connotation,
the
right?
idea of reframing. So taking
Right.
a situation and reframing it, right? And so I know I do, Rachel, I'm sure you do too. I talk to my clients all the time about how to reframe a scenario so that you can see where that good is. Okay. And it's not always, it's funny, it's not always fun to do. It's fun for me. I like doing it with my clients because it's like they're always kind of surprised, like, oh my gosh, how did you see it that way? And it's not that I'm special, or that I'm saying, well, I am special, but it's not that
You
I'm
are.
saying in a different way. It's just that I'm able now, after years of practice and understanding and using that spiritual knowledge, that I can take that situation and say, okay, let's reframe it for the purposes of seeing the flip side, the benefit, maybe shifting it, right? So, for example, um, you know, um, I'm trying to think of a good one that I just
Mhm.
recently have had. Oh, so I'm working with clients who um, something really serious happened, right? I can't go into details because of privacy, and if they see this,
Sure.
they'll know I'm talking
Sure.
about them. But let's say it's between employees and something really serious happened, very unexpected, right? And it was interesting because it came through a path of us working together. And I think some of the things that were coming out came out because we were working together. Okay. When it came out, it really shook this small business because it was really like, oh my God, like one of those moments where even I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. As I worked with the owner to reframe the scenario, and to say that this challenge between employees is now It's like, how is it here for you? It's here for you because if you were to continue without knowing this in this business, then lawsuits could have happened, like serious, much more serious ramifications could have happened. So let's reframe it as, it's here for you. What can we pull out of it? And how, and not only that, but to see how it looks as a result of it happening, right? Like you can completely repaint the picture or the landscape
Absolutely.
of
Absolutely.
where you're going. And it doesn't have to be scary, because you can just take a minute and start to imagine it. And it was absolutely shocking to see what happened in that conversation, because as we started to reframe and we started to look at what the good might be, it was like it opened up creative thinking.
Exactly.
And
It's like this is the thing when this what it's exactly what I mentioned before, when the process of delay, that I call it, the process of this, my God, what's going on, when we clear that consciousness in a spiritual speaking, it brings, as you mentioned, creativity, different way of looking at the situation, a different solution to the situation.
well, and sometimes the solution that comes out of it is far more beneficial,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes.
again, as we've gone through this process, like I'm just using this example of this one client, as we've gone through the process, we're all like, oh my gosh, there's some freedom here. There's some breathing room. Oh, and now after a couple of weeks of having to, keep coming back, reframing, keep coming back, reframing, everybody's in a place of, you know, I'm so glad this happened, because if it hadn't have happened, then it would not be, we would be going down a track that was going to have even worse, and I'm telling you, folks, that as you watch this, like, this is no joke. Some serious things happen in businesses, sometimes bankruptcy, sometimes having to close down, laying people off, not getting the big deal. I could name you 100 million things that could happen. But if every time it happens, and even if the result is still, let's say the business has to close down, God forbid, right? Let's say that happens.
Exactly.
Still, even after you've reframed it, the process of it having to close down and what you do with it after becomes completely different. So your process and where you might be for your next business or whatever next thing you do, you are in a completely different space because you're now more in
Yeah.
control,
It's so
right?
important. It's so important because reframing, providing and allowing us to connect to true freedom,
Yeah.
true freedom, freedom of the thought that capturing us with worries, freedom from pressure, freedom internal to create internal peace. It's so important, the power of reframing. So you'll be able to clear your mind and come to the situation, as you mentioned, with a much creative solution.
Exactly. And also, I want to add one more thing. I'm throwing Rachel for a loop because I didn't talk to her about this beforehand. But the other thing about it, and this is what we talk about, is you are who you bring to work, and you bring your work home personally. When you start to
Exactly.
reframe things that are happening in work, stuff that's happening in your office, to your career, whatever this scenario is, you actually start to actually work on yourself, because in that reframing, right, you start to see patterns. If you ask yourself the question, why is it here for me? What do I need to see? Okay, so this client, you know, this client's, fired me, let's say. What is it that I need to see? If I'm reframing it as it's here for me, then you're also getting some personal internal growth work done, as well as helping your career, your
Exactly.
business, and all of
Yeah.
that. So we wanted to, so it's really powerful. And I know it's funny, we're kind of, we're trying to make sure that these are not long. We want to bring you some short insights. We could go on for days about this, but it's a really, really powerful tool that works, in so many different ways. So we want to give you a couple of tips on what to do when
Yes.
you're presented with that moment where things aren't as you would like it, where it's a challenge or an obstacle or something really negative has happened, how to turn it around. The first tip I'll say is literally to get in a space where you can say, this is happening for me, not to me.
Absolutely.
And
This
if
is the
I'm in,
first sentence. Yeah.
that's the first sentence,
First
right?
sentence, breathe. Breathe, and it's a very powerful sentence. You're right.
So if you can take that sentence and then underneath that sentence, think, you know, try and write 3 things of how it's happening for you. So just a quick example, if it's let's say you lost a big contract, you know, the sentence might be, maybe this wasn't the right partner. Maybe my product isn't ready yet. Maybe it would have, or maybe if I'd sold my product, there would have been flaws in it and I would have had to pay a lot more on returns. Whatever those little things are. If it's, you know, your employee quits, you know, maybe a better person is out there who's going to help our sales go up. Whatever things you can think of in the, you know, name 3. That's tip number 1. Okay.
It's
Go
very
ahead.
powerful. No, it's very powerful. It's like, just to continue what you said, it's like in the moment that you just sit back, breathe, and having the sentence, looking at how it can be good, you can literally sit with a piece of paper and just write, okay, plus and minus, cons and pros for the situation. You'll be able to see, as you mentioned, like so many good things that can come up from this posing, from this delaying in my process, the way we interpreted it.
Right. Okay. And then the second thing is, now you want to reframe it. So now you've identified the areas that are good. Now you want to actually put those into action. So you want to reframe the scenario. So instead of saying my employee quit on me and now what am I going to do? You can say, this employee left the company, but left us with so many amazing places to start from. And the process of finding their replacement is going to be enjoyable. We're going to find somebody who can grow us even better. Whatever that is, you take the negative and you literally rewrite it into the positive.
Right.
And then the third thing is to, now that you've reframed it, think out of the box. What are the solutions in the new frame, in the new picture? What do you need to do, right? How does, now if you're looking at it from a different perspective, what are the things that you can be doing? And this is where you get to think out of the box.
What are the
Okay, how much?
steps? Yeah. What are the steps that I should do? Like, exactly.
Right. So now it's very exciting because now you have a whole new frame that you're working towards. You have a whole new way of thinking about it. Even if it's the worst scenario, even if it's, you know, we don't have enough money in the bank. Okay, step around, reframe, and then what are some of the solutions I can do? You know, what are some of the things that I can activate, right?
Exactly.
Instead of, now that the frame is new and good.
It's so powerful. It's so powerful. It's just like to exercise it. Take yourself like about like just 1 week to exercise seeing the good.
I love it.
Holding it, saying it's like it doesn't happen to me, it's for me. Just exercise this idea. And I'm sure that you'll be able to see so many changes in the way things that are showing up in your life.
I totally agree. All right, that is it from Rachel and I. As always, we want to invite you to reach out to us with your comments, questions. If you are interested in working with either Rachel and I for our sessions and how we coach people through using spirituality in business, you can find us at www.pathfinder1to1.com. That's Pathfinder, the number 1, TO, the number 1.com. And you can find us on our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram at Pathfinder 1-to-1. We're so excited to have been here, Rachel. Thank you so much. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yes, me too. Thank you very much.
Have a great day.